Hello and welcome to Pointed Logic Tarot. Today I'm going to do an old-fashioned deck collection video. This is going to be the first installment, and what I'll do is hopefully get through my tarot decks this time, and then in a future video do Oracle, Lenormand, and playing cards, and then in a third video do other divination tools such as coins, dice, etc. So we'll see how far I get. Maybe this gets broken up into even more iterations or more episodes. I think I'll just start with... Oh, could I go in order of purchase or gift date? Is that possible? We'll see. We'll see. I do have a spreadsheet of all of my decks, and I think I have the dates on there. So I could potentially go in order of when I acquired each one. The first one is very easy. And I have more than one copy, so I think I'll just do them all at once rather than in order that I acquired each individual copy. But that's the Gentle Tarot. So, the Gentle Tarot is by Maritza Aparicio Rice Tovar. There's her full name. I'm going to show you her full name. Here we go. She goes by Mari for short, of Mari in the Sky. So here I have the first printing of the first edition, which is the big box version. These are all indie decks. I have a few different notes, and maybe in the future, if folks are interested, in a future video I could do my full Gentle Tarot collection, because I don't just own the deck, I own some other stuff too. But in the first printing, we have this gold, which is a unique metallic-y matte, but it's not as brassy as following printings. And this one is in order. I like to put decks back in order after I do a deck study. Okay. Then we have, and I'm not going to go into deep detail for each box, but I'll pull out the pocket and flip through that. This is how I got into tarot and how I was introduced to tarot in the first place. So this is the second printing of the first edition. It's a little trimmer box. The same guidebook, but trimmer. And you can see a much more metallic-y, brassy gold edge, but still matte, which is nice. Still full-size tarot cards. I don't know if you can hear this on the microphone, but my cat is crunching her dinner. So, if you hear crunchy sounds, it's Rebecca. I got this because the first edition was going out of print, and I wanted the updated printing. Okay, I also had the linen edition, but I beat it up really bad, and someone lamented that they didn't have a copy, and I offered it and said, you know, it's beat up, but if you're interested, and they happily accepted. So this is the pocket one. I got this during the full-size guidebook Kickstarter. And it's so little and cute. These are challenging to shuffle because they're really thick cardstock, both the pocket and the full size. But it's really my favorite tarot deck of all time. It's the way that Mari talks about our connection to nature, the way that she uniquely interprets some of the cards. It just really aligns with my worldview. The way that they go about a decolonized view of tarot. One of the things I really love about this deck is that for the court cards, aka the face cards, its stages of growth. So we have seed, root, flower, and harvest. Here's the Harvest of Thunder. And this is the deck I learned on. I had the Gentle Tarot for a long time before I got any other tarot deck. And this is how I got the tarot bug. Okay. So I went about just this tarot deck for a long time, like I said, as I was learning it. And the next deck that I ended up with is Yonasa Yaos, which is kind of funny. So I have 2 editions, and I bought them because the creator had a sale. So I have the 5th edition, which is, and then the 6th jumbo edition. So the 6th typical size edition was out of print, but these are factory seconds, or at least this one is. And they were on sale, and I had heard a lot of good things. I had seen, I think from Lemuria Star, a ton of really beautiful pictures of the 5th edition. And to be honest, the 5th one is the one I was more interested in, but I liked the colorway of both, and because this was so reduced in price, I decided to go for both. This was my sort of like, oh, you know, I want to learn more about pip cards. I want to learn Marseille interpretations. So that's how I kind of got sucked into these. The 5th edition is shorter than standard tarot size, and it's a green colorway. And this is obviously much larger than standard tarot size, and is the classic original colorway of the Yonasa Yaos tarot with purples, yellows, maroons. It's a really unique tarot deck. It's really cool. The other thing I like about the jumbo sized is you actually get a little bit more of the artwork than the standard size of the Yonasa Yaos. They're cropped differently. This one is also cropped differently from the original typical Yonasa Yaos style. This one is one of those decks where it goes out of print and then people like try and sell it for ridiculous prices. And then Yonasa Yaos makes a new version of it, a new iteration, and you can get it for, you know, still an expensive indie price, or you can wait for a sale. They do sell out kind of fast. I literally didn't know anything about tarot or out of print prices or any of that when I found it. I don't know how I got so lucky to buy them for an on sale price. I'm like, why didn't they sell out like they usually do? So that's what the Jumbo 6 looks like. And this is the 5th edition. And this could potentially be my favorite shuffle of all time. We'll look at some other decks and I'll mention if I like the shuffle or not, because I really enjoy riffle shuffling. But as you can see, they're the same images, but in a different colorway. And I really like this. I use this during late spring just because I feel like it is aligned with the season in the coloring. It feels really wild, vibrant, virulent. And then there's a digital guidebook that talks about all the interpretations of the types of flowers that Yonasa Yaos used. It is very different from RWS as far as interpretation. This Marseille, numerological. It's based on some of the teachings of Jodorowsky, who's not really somebody I like follow or am aligned with. But anyway, it's a really cool deck. Here, I'll show you the shuffle for this one. So it's a little bit shorter than standard tarot sized, and it's a silky matte finish. It's just really smooth. I also have small hands. For reference, my ring size is 4, which is pretty tiny. And so this slightly shorter than tarot sized in height, but the same width of tarot decks, is a really nice size for me. So that's the other reason I really enjoy shuffling it. This one I can shuffle, weirdly enough, because it's not too fat. We'll see if this... That's pretty bad, but you can get away with a riffle. Somebody might be like gasping in horror at a riffle shuffling clumsily an out of print deck like this. But I do it. Okay, so that's Yonasa Yaus. Following that, I got a few Oracle decks, which you'll see as I was trying to figure out what paired well with the Gentle Tarot and what paired well with Yonasa Yaus. But my next tarot, I decided, you know what, I want a classic Rider-Waite-Smith clone or a deck, and went with Tarot Vintage. This one is fun. It's cute. It's I like the muted color tones. It's a low Scarabeo, so it's a mass market deck. Here's a full guidebook in several languages. Title card. It's slightly narrower than tarot sized, but close to standard size and the same height. It has the classic rose backs. And it's just RWS, but it has different colors. It's a very limited color palette. And then it has a watermarked aged effect over the top. And each card has a unique watermark effect, which is something I really like. I don't like same old, so it's not like kind of like annoying pattern of aged marking. I really like the blues in this deck. Then I got it just because I really wanted to learn a little bit more about the classic symbolism that I was reading about in all of the books. I'll say, like, this imagery isn't my favorite by any means. There are a lot of issues with sort of the tarot fandom of Pixie, because Pamela Coleman Smith was of her time and, you know, did a ton of racist things. Especially with the sort of appropriation of, like, claiming to be BIPOC, etc. And I don't want to speak beyond my knowledge. I'm not certain how much of that was her and how much of that is people after the fact sort of putting that on top and being like, she was marginalized in this way, she's a hero, etc., etc. She was certainly marginalized in ways in a patriarchal system, but I really encourage you to do research beyond sort of the standard Pixie was ahead of her time kind of stuff. You really might want to learn more. I recommend, actually, to the very first place to go would be Auntie K's Tarot. Auntie K is an indigenous tarot deck creator who has a YouTube channel that's really great, and there's an episode that she has created where she talks about Pamela Coleman Smith and a lot of the, like, sort of whitewashing and changing of history that we have done about her. Okay, that was a soapbox. That's not even the point of this video. Anyway, you've seen these. You've seen these if you are into tarot. These are the typical RWS art, but just with a colorway that I enjoy. So, I guess you could say that was my third deck, sort of, but, like, I have multiple copies of both Gentle Tarot and Yonasa Yaus. So, anyway, after that, I got the Modern Witch Tarot. I don't have the edition of the Modern Witch Tarot that I originally purchased. I bought it used, actually, from Danny Mystic when she was selling some of her old decks. And I colored the edges, and I enjoyed it, but it was such a bear to shuffle. And I saw a video from Mixtress Ray about the German edition and went on a hunt. And indeed, purchased the German edition. This is mass market. You can still buy the German edition. You can buy the English edition. The English edition has different card stock. So I bought the German edition because I love to shuffle. And check this out. So it's black core. If anybody, has the regular edition of this, you can't do that with it. This is much more fun to shuffle. I really like this as an RWS clone. I like the color. I like that it's leaning femme and non-binary, or at least, anyone can be non-binary. It's leaning femme and gender neutral or androgynous in some circumstances. I like the funny styles of the people. I really like the colors. This is one of my favorite cards. I just love the red wings. I love how they pop in this iteration. And I love the, little modernized nods. I love the hairstyles. Oops. We can talk about reversals another time. I have opinions. This is one of the more well-known pictures of this deck where this person's on their phone. And there's another version of this card, which I think I have in the back here. Oh, I even have Danny's autograph. Heck yeah, Danny. You're super cool. This says alles gut, but alles ist gut is, it's fine. We're fine. We're all fine. So anyway, that is the Modern Witch Tarot. And this is the German edition, which if you're on the hunt for this deck or you really like it, but the cardstock's keeping you back, I highly recommend looking for this. Let me show you the publisher in case you're looking for it. Königsfurt Urania. And I'm saying that probably terribly, so my apologies. Alright, after the Modern Witch Tarot, now I'm in full on seeking out all of the things I can about tarot mode. And I was doing a ton of research on indie decks. And the next one I found and went nuts for was the Lily White Tarot. This is by Celia Mellisville. And Celia is known for Tarot Renault, which is the Fox Tarot, the Boo Tarot. Oh, I'm trying to think of what other ones. She's done quite a few really cool tarot decks. This one, I don't think is one of the more well-known ones, but I really liked it. And the neat thing about this deck is you can get a version that's called the Lily Black Tarot, where it's done with like chalk or something instead of watercolor. It comes with a bigger guidebook, which I have, but also some nice keyword cards. And the deck itself actually doesn't have words on it. It's what I would say is maybe Pips with Feelings or Pippish, because, like for example, here's the Five of Cups. The Pips are featured prominently, but they're not the only thing on the card. Here's the Four of Swords. And here's the Hanged one. And in this deck, the courts are like child, teenager. Here's the Child of Cups. Woman and man. Or child, teenager, mother, father, maybe. But they don't have the names on them, so you can, like, this is the Queen of Swords. You can call them what you want to call them. I just find it really beautiful. I use this in the summer. I feel like this is a late summer deck. Sorry for the background noise, if you can hear background noise. Look at this one, the Seven of Swords is really cool. And I don't know if we went past it already, but the Wheel of Fortune in this deck is one of my favorites. Let me find it and show it. Here it is. So this Wheel of Fortune shows seasonal changes, but it's really kind of muted, where it's spring, summer, fall, and winter just with the branches. And then it also has a spider web in the center. And then it also shows the phases of the moon here, which I just think is a really fun way to show cycles in several ways on the same card. Okay, so that's the Lily White Tarot, another indie deck. After that, I was actually gifted a tarot deck. Yes, the Star Trek Tarot. As you can see, I am a big Star Trek fan. And this I got as a birthday gift from a friend. This is another indie deck. It's still available. Highly, highly, highly recommend. This Star Trek Tarot is original series. There are multiple versions of Star Trek Tarot decks around, depending on which series you like. The neat thing about this tarot deck is in the original series there are 79-ish episodes, but one is a two-parter, the Menagerie. And so you can make it into 78 cards. And then so each episode gets its own card and the name of the episode's on it. There's also keywords in this deck and playing card associations, which is fun. You'll notice on the rods card, you can see right in the back there, and like on the coins card here, that the playing card associations are in the background. So here's the Page of Cups, and you can see the little heart symbol behind the Romulan bird of prey. So that's pretty nifty. The art's really cool too. It's a drawn illustration style. And each card you can see, there's also 2 bonus cards. Each card you can sort of see the Starfleet insignia symbol. And they're color-coded by suit, which is helpful. The majors are black. So I really enjoy this deck. Temperance is my favorite card. And on that theme, the artist of this, or the creator of this deck, Telekiad is the name of the artist's website, created a Majors Only deck. This is the only Majors Only deck I own. I also got this as a birthday gift on the following birthday, so this one's a little out of order as far as order of acquiring decks. It comes in the same size box, but it has like a little, and it has the animated series insignia instead. It has an insert in the box to make it shallow, which I find funny. But so here it is. And it's the same backs and cardstock, so you can actually combine them. And I've done that, and it's fun to include that way too. And amazingly, the animated series in the 70s only had 22 episodes. And we have 22 major arcana. So it works perfectly for a Majors Only deck, and each individual episode gets its own card, just the same. So that's pretty delightful. Gosh, I hope that you can hear me over all the racket upstairs. If not, that will be sad, because I'll have to re-record this. Okay. So after the Star Trek Tarot is the Great Lakes Tarot. Now I'm from the Great Lakes region in the United States. I grew up in Michigan, and I do still live in a Great Lakes state, although not in my home state, and I often get homesick. The Great Lakes Tarot is very beautiful. Here's a depiction of the Great Lakes as the back. It's on like that slippy kind of coated make playing cards cardstock. And it depicts flora and fauna and activities of the Great Lakes region of the United States. And I would assume the Great Lakes region of Canada as well. Here we go. Alright. And let's see, what do I have to say about this deck? Other than just it helps my homesickness, it's also really unique in when the cards are in order, the suit goes from light to dark, almost as if as the suit becomes richer numerologically, it becomes richer in background color, which is really kind of cool. And that is the case for all 4 suits. The wands are flowers, and they get darker and darker pink. The blues, or the cups, are blues, and they are fish, and they get more and more teal. And then the pentacles are they pentacles or coins in this deck? They are pentacles. They're actually like recreation and human activities, and they get darker and darker purpley blue. The swords are animals. And then the majors are, and I don't know if you would consider this a vertical image, because it's depicting the sturgeon as a tower, which makes sense because the sturgeon also kind of it's an ancient fish that depicts the topple of the ecosystem if the sturgeon falls, you know? Sorry, I got sidetracked with what I was saying. Anyway, the majors, they depict several different things, and they're in different colors. And it is a really unique style of color block illustration. And this was from Belt Publishing. It's called the Great Lakes Tarot. At the same time that I purchased this, and I did wait for, I think, like a Black Friday sale. Bookmark your interests. Don't go ham. And then do your best to, like, wait for sales or gift request opportunities. If you're comfortable telling somebody you like tarot decks. It took me a while to actually feel that way. And the Rust Belt Arcana is the deck I got at the same time. They're the same artist, David Wilson. But the thing that's really cool about the Rust Belt Arcana is Matt Stansberry wrote a little book that went with it, and rather than just a typical guidebook, it is several essays, one for each major arcana card, that are about the life in the Rust Belt from a wild nature ecological perspective. This deck has, for the court cards, famous people with quotes. For the minors, they have keywords. The pips are in the corner here. And then the majors are kind of like classic illustrations, and each come with an essay. This one is definitely very different from your typical kind of RWS. Some of the keywords are aligned, but you really want to be either willing to research the Rust Belt or know the region. Michigan is part of the Rust Belt, so I did grow up in the Rust Belt. And to help define that region for folks who might not know what that means, the Rust Belt is like dying industry. It's like an industrial kind of part of the United States, and with like union labor, and just it overlaps with Appalachia, and it has just like a really unique history. I work in the Rust Belt, and I work on fighting fossil fuels, fighting poisoning industries for the community health and ecological protection and climate change reasons. So this is very relevant to my work, and I often use it for work readings. And together, they also just work really well because this one is Great Lakes specific and this one is Rust Belt specific, and they both have overlapping regions. So those are both from Belt Publishing. Following that, I don't know if I have it around. I was gifted the tiny universal weight. I'll put an image on the screen, and it's just like this little bit of keychain. And Rather than actually read with that deck, I mean, I do, but what I do is I do little pen pal readings and I make postcards that I send some of the cards. So I don't have a complete deck anymore. I shuffle a few cards and then send them away in a postcard to give a reading. Which is a perfect segue to say I have a Ko-fi, and if you would like a reading from me, I can either send you a video reading, or I could send you a postcard reading, or you could subscribe for a monthly month ahead reading. You can commission a custom reading, and the style that I do is secular and science seeking. So it's coming at tarot from the perspective of archetypes and not necessarily from the perspective of destiny or magic or divination. So if that's interesting, a link for that is in my description. Next up is a tarot deck I have some sad feelings about, and I haven't really decided if I'm going to do anything about that or just live with it. But it is the Free Life Tarot. Now, this was a deck that I bought from a Ukrainian tarot shop called Mystic Silk. There's their... And I can't remember where I first saw this, if I saw it on Instagram or if I saw it on YouTube. But it's a pretty, like, legit looking company. They sell a lot of mass market tarot decks. They sell a lot of indie tarot decks that are available in the United States. And at the time that I purchased this, I wanted to support a Ukrainian business. Let me find the details about this. Okay, so there's some extra cards here. And the website was, I used Google Translate. Here's their, like, card. And there's some just extra double-sided backs. And what was kind of cool about it is you could choose matte, cardstock, or shiny, what you wanted. You could choose the size. I chose the mini version because it was cheaper. And it's a deck that comes with, I think 12 or 13 bonus oracle cards. So it's kind of chunky. So it's a 78 card tarot deck. Now, on their Instagram and their website, it said this was created by the shop owners. But I have since learned that the artist who made the art pieces is actually someone, I think, in California. And so I don't know if the tarot shop owners pilfered the images and created this deck or what. But I feel really bad because I didn't know that at the time, and I had done my research and it was like a legitimate shop, but not necessarily legitimate practices. I got it because it's just so darn cozy. I did reach out to the artist of these images on Instagram and sent them a DM, and they did not respond. So unfortunately... I mean, in the description, what I'll do is I'll link to the actual artist's website that I found. Shout out to Sarah at Tangy Tarot for recognizing this art and flagging that for me. But the premise of it is just a girl and her dog. And it's depicting different people, but I really like the light effects on this digital art. And you can see there are some oracle cards in here. There are some that are a few unique interpretations. I really like using this in the summer and then the fall. And you can't help but feel like cozy. Let me just find my favorite card. Four of Wands. Look at this person. They're in like a farm stand looking at candles. Looks like the start of fall. Near me there's a pumpkin patch and farm that has a little indoor shop like this, and it just gives me the start of October vibes. So yeah, this is the Free Life Tarot. It's weird because it's not a counterfeit deck, but I do think it's stolen artwork. But even thick, oops, I kind of bungled that. Let me try that again. It does shuffle well because I did choose matte cardstock. It's kind of plasticky, but it's really springy. Okay. I'll set that one aside. But yeah, do your research. And then if you're not sure, do your research again. I kind of just was like, oh, it seems legit. An independent shop. Anyway, Free Life Tarot. Okay. The next one is Tarocchi Fina della Torre in Bologna from the Museo Internazionale dei Tarocchi. And it's an Italian reproduction of a Bolognese deck. It's really cool. This deck is from the 17th century, which is the 1600s. On the backs, and I do want to say this is not a facsimile, but a reconstruction. It comes with a little pamphlet about it. And facsimile decks are cool, which are the ones that are as realistic in the state that it currently is. But this one is restored. It's a restoration, and I really enjoy it. You can find comparisons of the facsimile to the restoration. But so some of the differences are that this, I think, has numbers added to it, and then with Bolognese decks, there are missing pips that they added. The image here is depicting Cupid aiming the arrow at Daphne, who wants to escape. I think it's like the Apollo chases after Daphne story. And the Lovers card in this deck is one of my favorites, where this person's about to like profess their love to this person, and this person sees Cupid coming at them, and they're like, I'm not feeling this. I don't really want this. Here's the Chariot. Justice. This is cool. This is the Hermit, but it's depicting old father time. So I was really into researching the history of tarot at this point. When did I purchase this? Hold on, let me look at my little spreadsheet. I purchased this summer 2023. So I was researching tarot history at this point, and I still do, but I was really into This Is Strength, the classic person holding the tower, the pillar. And I wanted to find something like, I was researching tarot by century and looking at the different types, and I was really looking for something that represented the 1600s, and I thought this one was just so beautiful and so colorful. Look at this Tower card. They're like having so much fun doing astronomy on the moon here. It's just delightful. This is the World card. This is sort of in order somehow. Here's the cups. And I do like this because it has two female pages and two male pages. Okay, not totally in order. So that's the cups were in order, but here's the swords. Oh, and the title card got in there somehow. This is the Fool. The Fool is 22 in this deck. Magician. La Papessa. Empress, Emperor. Pope. Here's some Wands cards. And then here's some coins. This is maybe my first like legit pip deck where I'm like, all right, let's buckle down and learn how to read these pips. And some more swords. And y'all might tear your hair out at this, but I really enjoy riffle shuffling it. It has just the most lovely like paper, watercolor paper type cardstock. Sounds like a book. But I do that same thing long ways. Shuffle, slide it together, bridge. Yeah, so judge me all you want, but if I can riffle shuffle it, I'm going to. Even if it's not quite a legitimate riffle shuffle in this case. Anyway, this is a really fun, really beautiful tarot deck. Okay. Next up, oh, a couple of Kickstarters. So I didn't back a ton of Kickstarters so far. There are some Kickstarters I'm waiting on though, a couple of them. But I backed, the first Kickstarter I ever backed was Mari's second Kickstarter for Gentle Tarot Pocket Edition and the full-size guidebook. And then I backed the Mini Mice Tarot. And this is not its original box, but I bought some just craft paper boxes that you can fold, and then it came with a few cute little art bookmarks that I glued on. And it's wee bitty. It does better on the shelf in this, and I wanted something that would hold the book, because this is the little pamphlet that it comes with. It also does come with a bigger guidebook, but I bought the digital version of that. Here's the creators. This is not currently available, but it might be available on pre-order for another printing. This is the original box. It came in a little bit of tough box. And it's so cute with the little tiny mice. This also has bonus oracle cards. Look at the Emperor. I love this Emperor. It's showing like the very like fatherly kind of energy of this Emperor saying, I care about little bitty mice. And I just like the way these mice, their feet are drawn. It has some really dark imagery. So for example, Temperance is about this mouse telling a bedtime story to her baby mouse while the world burns outside. They ride on bunnies. They have bugs as pets. But there's a lot of like tough living in the mouse world here. Lots of mice with scars. Mouse tower. It's really beautiful. It has a really wild quality, but they're also just so cute. This doesn't follow RWS. It follows an older Italian Triumphi system. At least that's what the Kickstarter said. I see some I see some RWS similarities and overlap, and some numerological stuff, and then a couple cards that go their own way, but it doesn't deviate enough that it's a struggle for me, especially because the images are mostly broad enough that I could either ignore the interpretation in the guidebook or incorporate it and combine them, which is what I typically do, because the way the guidebook is written is a little story for each one. Each mousey has a name and like a little goal and what's depicted on the card. So that's the Mini Mice Tarot. They also sell a Big Mice Tarot version. Mimit. But this one is Mini Mice Mimit. Okay. Then after that one, oh, this was another gift that I received. The Cozy Witch Tarot. This one is fun. Oh my gosh, more cat shenanigans in the background. This deck is interesting because it has little key phrases at the bottom of each one. Some of the cards are renamed. So this is the Devil. This is the Wheel of Fortune. But I really like this one. It is a femme deck for sure. But I like the variety of people. Oh my gosh. Rebecca, what are you doing? My cat is climbing and knocking down things. And I really like the details that the more you look at these cards, the more you find in them. I do also agree for the most part with the phrases. I would say that they do lean friendly, but not always. It's very fall vibes. I like the guidebook a lot. I like the writing in the guidebook. I like the cardstock, but I don't like the size of the deck. So it's a little too big, but it does have a nice swishy matte cardstock. So I do have to split the deck to get my fingers around it. It's not the worst thing in the world. Right now I'm using this to pull a card in the evenings and unwind with the message in the guidebook. It also has some good spreads in the front. I have on my list to check out from the library some of the poetry books by Amanda Lovelace because I like Amanda's writing. That's the Cozy Witch Tarot. Also, one of the cards that just really strikes me is the Empress. So I know, and I am in agreement for the most part that I'm kind of overseeing pregnant empresses. But this one's really interesting because it depicts still that nurturing, and it depicts, you know, a mother chest feeding their baby, but they're wearing a mask. And I have been there. I had a baby last year, and there was a situation where I was sick. I haven't had the big C yet. Fingers crossed that I don't get it. I'm still masking and getting my boosters, but I was sick with something else and ended up needing to wear a mask for like a week in front of my infant, and it was really challenging. So this was me, and you know, a few months after that happened, I then got this deck as a gift, and this card just stood out to me. Anyway, I like the depictions in this deck. And then the next one's another indie, and this is, I think, where I kind of accrued like 10 decks in the span of, yikes, 4 months or so. I really went overboard. The Children of Litha Tarot. This one I had been on the fence for, partly because of the card stock, partly because of just, do I want to invest in something that's going to become a series? But I saw an Instagram live of the creator talking about their upcoming deck, Children of Ostara, and the amount of thought that they put into each card and the interpretations and the art design and just their knowledge of the Wheel of the Year and their witchcraft practice and all these things really attracted me to the deck, because I really liked sort of the way the artist thought. And the artist is Zia Hunt, Alexandria Huntington. So I have the Black Edition. I say if you're after this deck or any of the decks by Zia Hunt, watch the website, sign up for the newsletter, because there are sales. This deck is really wild. It's really ferocious. It's raw. This is one of my favorite cards. This is another one that picks seasonality well. And I did back the Children of Ostara on Kickstarter, so I'm looking forward to that one when it comes in. Okay, a weirdly unrelated thing. The court cards are all hotties in this deck. I played this game with my partner where we like to call the court cards out and ranked them and like picked our favorites based on cuteness alone. We did have quite a few overlapping ones too. The court cards are all humans. The majors often depict like human animal combo creatures. The aces depict elemental beings, and then the minors depict animals. And the Children of Ostara deck is going to be plants, plant focused, with like plant human beings. And yeah, sorry, now you're just looking at repeating cards here. This one is a bear to shuffle. It's terrible. Again, when I say shuffle, I mean riffle, but this one is also hard to overhand. I have to split it because it's thick and it's kind of sticky, so it doesn't like to go together. But it does feel nice, and it works in eventually. So it gets easier to shuffle with over time. I haven't tried the cornstarch method, mostly because I want to get the other deck and see if I really want to do that with all of them, you know? The book is really good too. Zia put so much work into this project. It's really well done. Okay. The next one was an impulse purchase, and now I must say I try my hardest not to impulse purchase. I put a deck on a list, think about it a good long while, do a lot of research, read it, watch walkthroughs, then set it aside and try not to think about it for a while, and then go back and forth. But this one is the Spark and Pen Tarot. I saw this one on another Tarot Tubers channel, Crescent Dreams Tarot, and Livy said it was out of print and that they had found it on eBay. But then when I did a little research myself, I discovered not only was it available on Etsy, well, I found the Etsy shop and it wasn't in stock at the time, but I messaged the creator and they were like, oh yeah, I'll put that back in stock for you. But also they're an artist local to me. And I was like, I need this. It comes in a little tuck box. This is no longer their handle. I will link the correct one below. Comes with a little tiny keyboard template. And it is a lovely linen cardstock. It's another one where each image has really vibrant colors. Each suit has a colorway. And you can hear my cat making more noise, jumping around over there. Oh, something I really like are the playing card associations are hidden within the court cards. It's a really clear, concise reader for me. It is a Pips with Feelings kind of deck. Some of them are more pippish than others. Some are more scenic. This little like warthog piggy bank. So here's an example of the Knight of Wands, and you can see they have a club on their chest as the playing card association. There's another court card. There's a couple of bonus cards, like a light and a shadow. Here's a Queen of Cups. Here's a Page of Cups. There's the heart. Here's the Page of Pentacles. Here's a diamond. Anyway, it's really cool. One of the best shufflers. If you like linen. Which I do. It's also not too slippery of a linen like some of the other ones. It does slide, but it doesn't explode everywhere. That's the Sparking Pen Tarot. Okay, home stretch of decks. The next one is another mass market. I bought this one used, Tarot for the Great Outdoors. People are lamenting the cardstock of this deck, and while it is thin and it doesn't have a core, I would say it's actually a pretty nice cardstock. Also, shout out, there was oh gosh, I'm not going to remember. A Tarot Hot Takes that Lisa Papez did, where she was going on about a particular lumberjack, which, spoiler alert, that tarot deck is next. But I really like this lumberjack picture myself. And it even has a lumberjack admirer in the background there, enjoying the view. So, this one is really cool. It's a very numerological deck, actually, even though it's quite scenic. I've noticed that a lot of numerological decks kind of tend to lean pip, which makes sense, right? Because if like you're focusing on the numerology, then you're going to focus on the number in the deck. But this one is very vibrant, very scenic. But the interpretations of things like the Ten of Swords, for example, in this deck, blades, or, so here's like the Five of Wands. They're numerological, but for sure. They definitely deviate from RWS, which I really like, and it's something I'm really working on practicing, as you'll see when I get to the playing cards video. It's beautiful. I love the people depicted in it. I love the places. I've been to quite a few of these places. I traveled a lot for work out of college, and I did a lot of different jobs across the United States. And so I've had the privilege of being at quite a few. Here's one that I've been to. And it's really fun to take this deck with you on a hike. Let me show you the shuffle. So as you can see, it's a very bendy deck. And it does flop a little bit when shuffled, but they hold their shape, you know, they don't bend out of shape. And as long as you're gentle, it's a nice shuffle. But yeah, I really like this deck. Highly recommend. It's also I mean, I bought it used, but even if you buy it new, you can find it for pretty affordable. It's got a very small but mighty card, or a guidebook, and it gives you leave no trace advice. It references the places that are depicted, and it makes my conservationist heart happy. Tarot for the Great Outdoors. The only thing is, if you don't live in the United States, it might not be as relevant because they are depicting all places in the United States. Okay, as I alluded to, the next deck is a Kickstarter I backed. So looking at this, I think there are 4 Kickstarters in total in my collection. This is the Lighted Window Tarot from Lantern Print Company. This is very much a pip deck, but still, I would say pips with feelings. Another absolutely stunning edging. Has a nice guidebook. This is another one that has really nice numerology. So like, for example, 3 of Wands, and then it gives you themes and symbols, and it talks about 3 and what that kind of reference is. Simple and straightforward. The deck is a little thick. It's just enough that I can shuffle it, but it is a struggle bus. So sometimes I do split it because it's easier. See, I can do it. And then it does have really nice matte cardstock and a good thickness, so that makes it easier. But let's flip through some of the cards here. This one is also color-coded. Here's the lumberjack image when we were talking about the Emperor. Another beautiful Wheel of Fortune. I have noticed as we flip through these tarot decks that there's a lot of Wheel of Fortunes that I really lean towards, and any that depict seasonality I enjoy immensely. So, see some quite pippy pips. This is a very fall deck. You could even use it in the winter. I mean, you can use any deck whenever, but cozy vibes. This is the Hermit. I love that. And even in the pip cards, you can see, you know, 5 of Cups, it's got 3 cracked cups. 5 of Pentacles, this plant is wilting. So there's some hints to the meaning. The Hierophant card is very beautiful in this deck as well. 7 of Cups, you've got your choices. I like this Queen of Swords quite a bit. Yeah. So I've not had this one for super long, but I've been using it quite a bit, and it's really helping me get good at my reading pips. So it's that sweet spot where the pips are still quite engaging and help you remember what the meanings are. Okay, 3 left, home stretch here. Okay, so the next 2 are from Make Playing Cards, and I bought them this year. This is the Naturescapes Tarot. This is, again, it didn't come with a box. I just have some of these craft boxes, and I printed these little pictures and made my own. This one is kind of a fan favorite from Make Playing Cards, I think. It's made by Queen of Wands, and they are landscape photos that are really well matched with the meanings of RWS Tarot. I really like how the sword suit is depicted in this deck, and I think it even has helped me with my interpretations of some of the swords cards. I also recognize some of these places. Like, I know that this is Lake Michigan. This looks like the Appalachian Mountains to me. And there are some that are just like Machu Picchu, like, you know, it's famous, but there are some that I need to look up where this is. It does come with like a little digital thing that lists some of the places, but not all of them are identified, unfortunately. So I need to use like reverse image lookup or something to try and find and identify some of these images. They're all stock images. Look at this one. Beautiful. But yeah, this one it's fun. It's really, it really stretches how, it stretches your tarot interpretation skills. Look at this one. So, for example, Four of Pentacles. It's lush, it's green, but it is caged in. It's a greenhouse. So there's a few ways you can look at this when you would do an interpretation. Four of Pentacles, you could think, okay, well, you're so interested in protecting your garden or forest that you've created these walls around it, and it's grown up to the top and it can't flourish or grow any further. On the other hand, I've been to places like this in the dead of winter that are vibrant and protected because of the elements. So, you know, you can play with the interpretations that way. Look at this Knight of Swords. And another one I want to share is the Queen of Swords. Look at this one. Isn't that just stunning? Yeah, okay. That's the Naturescapes Tarot. So the next one is also from Make Playing Cards I bought at the same time. Sadly, Vincent Patisi, who is a really well-known tarot teacher, has a YouTube channel, wrote a lot of tarot books, made several reimaginings of classic tarot decks, passed away this year. But I went on to his Make Playing Cards storefront and he still had it, it was still open. So I purchased his revised 1JJ Swiss. I really like the 1JJ Swiss, but I never liked the colorway, similar to the RWS deck. And this one has reimagined colors with a new palette that I really enjoy. And also, if you go on to Patisi's YouTube channel, you can see like there was some restoration that he did. So this image was cut off and he added a little bit to the barn. And I think in Temperance, the person's arm is kind of wonky and it was colored poorly. And so he redrew it and recolored it. So this one is another one that's really been helpful to me to practice reading numerology. This one, though, I do read more Marseille, even though it's not technically a Marseille. It's very similar in some of the cards to a Marseille style. Oh, and then finally, the other really interesting thing about the 1JJ Swiss, the reason it's called 1JJ is that instead of the High Priestess and the Hierophant, or the Pope and the Popess, they made Jupiter and Juno. Here's Jupiter. And here's Juno. But Vincent wanted to add the additional classic cards. So if you look at a flip through of the classic 1JJ Swiss, you'll see that the arm of Temperance looks really goofy. There's like two elbows. So this is like his like improved version. I prefer it. But yeah, so Vincent drew from scratch a Hierophant and a High Priestess to go in this deck. And you could pick one or the other, but here's the Hierophant. I just choose to keep them both in and just read Jupiter and Juno differently. So these are originals to this version. And it is still available on Make Playing Cards, and I hope that that money is going to support his family. So these two are recent purchases for me. They are my most recent purchases, in fact. And then finally, this last deck. is a gift I received for my birthday from my brother-in-law. The Trek deck. This is my third Star Trek tarot deck. This is an Etsy purchase, or a gift from an Etsy shop. Deosil Designs. They used, I think, drive-through playing cards just based on the deck box and the type of linen it is. And this one is a combo of Voyager, Next Gen, and Deep Space Nine all together. I'm still working on understanding some of the choices and interpretations in this deck. You may or may not agree with them, and some folks may even have strong feelings about them. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy the art style. And there aren't, this is like 10 million times better than Inside Edition's yucky, lazy Next Gen deck, where they had some pretty nice majors and then goofy suits and lazy pips. So, this is a fully scenic deck. I'm not against pip decks, as you can see, but I am against lazy pips. So, I am really happy that a fan made this deck. Look at this, Tuvok. Tuvok is one of my favorite characters. Janeway. I also really liked Cass. Cass was done dirty, man. Written out the way she was. Yes, Garrick. Oh, Kira was one of my favorites. So yeah, this is my most recent deck. There's coffee in that nebula. And although TOS is my favorite Star Trek series, I do also enjoy the big three of these classic ones. And it's kind of fun to have them all in one deck. It also shuffles really nice. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this first installment of my deck collection. These are all my tarot decks. I do have, like I mentioned, a couple of Kickstarters I'm waiting on. And you know what? I'll put the images, just for like completeness, on the screen. So I'm waiting on Children of Our Star Tarot, like I mentioned. And I am also waiting on the Magic Pantry Tarot by Cedar McLeod, I believe. And I'm really excited for that one because I love cooking. That's kind of where a ton of my artistic time and hobby is spent. I don't draw or anything like that. I play the piano and I cook, and those are my two creative outlets. And I'm really looking forward to combining my love of tarot with my love of food and culinary experimentation. I also really like that Cedar McLeod is going to include cards for vegan options, because I'm vegan and I am appreciative that, some of the other food decks that I had considered had lobsters and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't want to really utilize that in my menus and the like. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Feel free to share in the comments below your thoughts on some of these, and I'll see you in the next one.